Alright guys, so this fanfiction idea was voted over on Patreon, and as you can see it's a three-way crossover of Ghostbusters, Gargoyles, and Gremlins. GGG. It's a nice little Halloween story too. It's gonna be cool. So yeah. I want to thank everyone who voted. This one kind of won by a good margin. By 40% of the votes. The other ones were Hey Arnold, Beetlejuice, Ghostbusters, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Frankenstein, Reanimator, and Has Been Hotel, Phantasm, and Scooby-Doo. Yeah, kind of going with that Halloween vibe. But yeah, let's, as always, if you guys would like to be part of the polls, as well as check out my episode and movie reviews, just hit the link below in the description, and, hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so. I'm currently, got a Q&A prelude out for the next Q&A, which is going to be Dead Space. So if you want to be part of that, just hit the link below in the description and hit the first tier, and you can ask questions for the upcoming Dead Space Q&A. But other than that, hope y'all enjoy this, and let's get started. Yeah. So the story begins with the Ghostbusters clearing out a dark spirit of Chinese mythology. Just this evil spirit. They're clearing it out of an old antique store. Apparently someone had bought the old antique store and was fucking around in it and accidentally unleashed this ghost from one of its prisons. So the Ghostbusters trap it, put it in the ghost trap, and as they're like clearing things out, Egon basically tells Ray and the others, maybe we should just look around just in case there's something else here that needs to be like sealed up. And the new owner's like, yeah, I bought this, and if there's another ghost or monster here, just get it out. Get it out now. So Venkman's like, sure, I could do with the overtime. Perfect. So the Ghostbusters are all just kind of looking around, just kind of seeing what's going, like if there's anything to pick up. And Ray, the PKE meter for Ray, just starts going wild in one area, and he like moves stuff around, and he sees what's causing it. It's Gizmo, who's just kind of hiding in the back, just kind of all shuddering and stuff. And he's like, guys, come over here. It's a Mogwai. I never saw one in the wild. And Winston's like, a Mog what now? And he's like, Mogwai. It's a subspecies of gremlin from the Chinese Orient, from the Chinese Providence. And he's like, okay, what are they, or do we blast them? What? Like, that's Venkman's whole idea, is like, do we blast them? Do we do something else? And he's like, no, it's kind of cute. And Egon is like, it'll be great for dissection. He's like, no. I say we take the little guy home. He's just scared. They're not... Mogwai are... In most mythology, Mogwai are said to be gentle and harmless. Most. They're a subspecies of gremlin. And he's like... And, Venkman's like, oh boy, a gremlin. I thought we wouldn't have to deal with something like that. And he's like, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll just take him home. And Ray's like, please, can we take him home? Please. And Venkman's like, okay, but you clean up after him. So, Ray takes Gizmo home. He's like, what's your name, little buddy? Gizmo. He's like, Gizmo, I love that. He's so cute, guys. He's like playing with him and stuff. And when they bring him back to the firehouse, they try to introduce it to Janine, who Janine's like, oh my god, he's so adorable. And that's when Slimer comes flying in, and Slimer's just like, because it's like a jealous pet. And he's like, Slimer, this is your new friend Gizmo. And Slimer's just like, don't like. And flies off, and Venkman's like, oh boy, never thought I'd see the day where ghosts and goblins wouldn't get along. Meanwhile, while this is going on, the Gargoyles are just out on patrol, and they did hear the commotion overnight, and it's Lex Broadway and Brooklyn, and the three of them overheard the commotion, like the Ghostbusters battling the ghost, and they're just like, huh, that was pretty cool. Never saw the Ghostbusters in action. oh, like, I heard about all of them on the TV shows and radio, but, like, I never thought we'd cross paths. And he's like, and Brooklyn's like, yeah, you'd think with this city we'd run into him sooner, right? Like, I've heard, and Broadway's like, maybe those stories about those turtles living in the sewers would be real, or maybe those witches on the east side of town, or maybe that reports that dragon, right? And he's like, man, New York's got a lot of stuff. I wish we all, like, ran into each other more. He's like, and Brooklyn's just like, it's a big city. So the Gargoyles, the Gargoyles then notice Ray bringing home Gizmo, and they're like, "What the hell is that thing?" And they're like, "It doesn't look like a ghost." So they're like, "If the Ghostbusters got it, we can handle it." So they head back to their home in the clock tower. And Goliath is like, how was the patrol and all of that, and like, what did you find anything of interest? He's like, no, but we saw the Ghostbusters. And Hudson's like, oh, the Ghostbusters, heard about them. It's like, well, did you see them in action? He's like, nah, but they were carrying out this little fuzzy thing. And Hudson's like, fuzzy thing? What fuzzy thing are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, a little fuzzy thing with big ears. And that's when Hudson's like, jalapeno. And Goliath and them are like, what's wrong, Hudson? He's like, a Mogwai. I heard stories about him. They're nothing but bad news. And if those Ghostbusters have one, we need to get him back. We need to warn him. And to which Brooklyn's like, oh yeah, we'll just knock on the door. Knock knock. Hi, we're Gargoyles. Don't freak out. But we're here to help you and take that thing from you. You think that I'm sure they'll be totally fine with us. And Goliath is like, regardless, if that creature is a danger to them, we need to go help them. So the Gargoyles head out to secure this Mogwai, and they're like, Hudson, how do you know about this thing? And he's like, well, I've heard stories about them from the days when I was a baby. They would be shipped, not shipped, but they would like migrate from their homeland in the Far East, and they would spread chaos wherever they went. You know, I never saw one in real life, but I have heard enough stories to know that these guys are dangerous. So, and Lex is like, so Goliath, what's the plan? Brooklyn is right. We can't just go in there and take it. We'll have to maybe we could just try to talk to him. And Brooklyn's like, this plan is just bad all over. I'm expecting a fight. Goliath's like, we'll let reason first. Let's have reason happen first. So meanwhile, back at the firehouse, Slimer and Gizmo aren't getting along. Like, Gizmo's trying to be happy and play with Slimer, but Slimer is like, no. So eventually, Gizmo because it's not midnight yet, so Gizmo's trying to eat. Gizmo's just trying to eat something, and then in comes Slimer, who's like, Slimer's like, you stole my food. So Slimer gets mad, chases Gizmo around Janine's desk, and Janine is trying to drink some water. And you can probably guess where this goes. Gizmo gets pushed by Slimer into the desk. The water tips over and lands on Gizmo, and out pops more Mogwai. And they're, of course, the ghost, Janine's like, Egon, guys, get in here. It's something's happening, to little Gizmo. And they're like, oh no, little Gizmo, what's wrong with you? And out pops more Mogwai, and they're a little more angry. And they're like, oh, that's new. Ray, did you forget to tell us some things? And Ray's like, I heard about some rules, like not to get a Mogwai wet, or feed them after midnight, or direct sunlight. And he's like, would have been nice if you told us that, Ray. He's like, it slipped my mind. He was so cute. You're cleaning up after all of them, Ray. So, but, however, what happens next is that they hear this loud thud on the roof, and they're like, oh, Venkman's like, what? Oh, God, what now? So the Ghostbusters go up there, and it's the Gargoyles. And the Gargoyles are all there, and they're like, okay, before you do anything, we're gonna need you to not freak out. And the Ghostbusters are like, this night's getting better. And they're like, you looking for your baby? And it's like, that's not a gargoyle. And they're like, and Ray is just like, oh, I never, I heard the stories about, gargoyles being spotted in the sky. I never thought you'd be real, and you're capable of speech. This is amazing. And Goliath introduces, like, I'm Goliath, this is my clan. We're here to, take the Mogwai away from you. And he's like, and Venkman goes, Mogwai's plural now. And they're like, why? Because, our pet ghost decided to be jealous. And Hudson steps in and is like, if there's more of them, then you need to give them to us, and we'll dispose of them. And Ray is like, no, please. You can't kill them. They're just they're just babies. They don't understand what's going on. I'll prove to you that they're fine. And Goliath is just like, I will have to trust you. I don't. And Venkman's like, you can go. I mean, all right, big and spooky. You could go through us, but this proton pack says we're gonna make you work for it. So Goliath is like, all right, we're gonna go. We don't want any problems, so we're gonna go. But if something happens, we will be there to help. And they're like, sure. Catch you on the next flight. So the Gargoyles leave, and the Ghostbusters are like, well, Gremlins, Gargoyles, dealing with ghosts, I feel like we need to, Venkman's like, I feel like we need to, broaden our horizons. I think at this point we're selling ourselves short with just hunting ghosts. So Ray is like, and then Ray's like, oh crap, what time is it? And then they're like, it's 12:15 in the morning. And he's like, hey, did anyone check on the Mogwai? And wasn't there a rule of the don't feed them after midnight? And they're all like, shit! And they run back down, and they see the Mogwai have except Gizmo, they've all eaten all the food. These new batches of Mogwai have scared off Slimer and are now just eating everything. So they're already getting they're already in cocoons, and they're like, okay, this is bad. Can we break these eggs? And Ray's like, I don't know if we should. Maybe we can move them somewhere. And he's like, oh sure, we'll put them in the in the ecto trap. That I'm sure the ghosts will love that. And they're like, well, we gotta put them. If these things hatch, we don't know what's gonna come out of them. So we need to figure out somewhere. To put them that they can, that they won't be, any trouble. So Ray gets a brilliant idea of maybe we just let him hatch and maybe they'll just be as cute as Gizmo. And Venkman goes, you do not get to talk, Ray. You have taken this far enough. However, Winston comes up with an idea. Is there's an old military base not too far. Not too far from here. Maybe we can find somewhere to seal them away and keep them locked up. And they're like, okay, we can do that. So they take the eggs, and also Venkman makes the point of maybe we should call those Gargoyles again. In case something really bad happens. Might be nice to have some aerial support. So, and they're like, oh cool, where do we find them? And Ray's like, oh, I can do that. I've been following all the old conspiracy patterns and flight patterns of the Gargoyles from old news clippings and reports, and I've tracked it down to this clock. I think they're at this old clock tower. And Venkman is like, okay, cool. Egon, go with him in case something goes wrong. So Venkman and Winston go take the eggs and put them in Ecto 1, while Egon and Ray go and try to find the Gargoyles. While this is so, they're split up, and Ray Ray and Egon are like trying to figure out and he's like, maybe you were wrong, and he's like, no, look, and they see like the gargoyles flying back to the clock tower, and he's like, if I know gargoyle biology, they they're gonna have to stay close. There's only like 5 hours until sunrise again, so we need to act fast. And they're like, how do we contact them? And Ray's like, I got an idea. Pulls out his proton pack and starts firing into the air to like fire a shot to like get them to get their attention. The gargoyles are like, do we let them up? So the gargoyle, so Egon and Ray go up into the clock tower and tell them what's going on, and they're like, oh, so you didn't let us handle the problem and now it's gotten worse. And he's like, in my defense, I didn't think the problem would get worse. And Egon's like, that's a lie, Ray, you knew. So the gargoyles come back to the firehouse, and they're like, we'll assist you in any way we can. If we can dispose of these eggs, you don't have to lock them up. We can just destroy them now. And that's when they start hearing the Ecto-1 like rocking violently, and they're like, oh no, Gremlins have hatched, and they take the Ecto-1 on a joyride. That's the first thing they do. And the Gargoyles and the Ghostbusters are now like, well, now we don't... the Ghostbusters are like, oh, crap, we don't have a car. And the Gargoyles try to take chase after them. And the Ghostbusters are like, what do we do? It's we can't catch them on foot. And that's when, like, Broadway's like, we could carry you. And it's like, this is emasculating. Also, don't worry, can Gargoyles get cancer? Because these things are pretty radioactive. And they're like, don't know what that, don't know if we can or not, but sure. So the Gargoyles carry the Ghostbusters as they're chasing the Gremlins all through, they're all through Manhattan, and the Gremlins, some of them are like jumping out of the Ecto-1 and like running into the city, until one of them like crashes the Ecto-1 into a nearby, fountain, the crashing in Central Park fountain, the little lake in Central Park, and out spring more Gremlins, and the Gargoyles and the Ghostbusters now have to like try to round them up throughout the city, like they're just trying to collect them all. So it's just utter chaos. The Ghostbusters and the Ghostbusters and Gargoyles have to now like split up in order to find the Gremlins. And the Gremlins are just causing all sorts of untold chaos. Like they're messing with with lighting and electrical. They're also like like some of them make it to Broadway and just start like doing their own renditions of Broadway. They mess with lights. They mess with street performers. They're just even on the rail. The subway station. They're just crashing subways into walls and shit. It's just utter chaos. And the more the Gremlins are just spreading like wildfire until like Ray points out the only way to kill these things is direct sunlight, and sunlight's coming up in about 2 hours. So if we can find a way to draw them all up to the surface, that I think we can figure out or get rid of them all. So the Gargoyles are like, well, wait here, I think we got an idea. So the Gargoyles come back, and it's Broadway who came up with this idea of like, what's the one thing Gremlins love after causing chaos? Eating. They'll make more Gremlins that way. So he's basically gotten this huge like truck of food, and is driving it erratically through town, trying to get all these Gremlins to follow him out to the edge of the city where the dawn is just coming up. Sure enough, the dawn rises, and the Gremlins are like, fuck, and all die. So the Gargoyles are like, well, can you do one more thing before we turn to stone? And they're like, yeah, can you take us back, carry us to the clock tower? He's like, we'll make sure you get there. I don't know how. So they turn to stone. The Gargoyles turn to stone. And Venkman's like, we're gonna need to rent a truck to carry them back. And that's when they call Janine. He's like, hey, we're gonna need a rental and a tow truck and a few other things. And they're like, is Gizmo? And Ray's like, is Gizmo okay? And they're like, oh yeah, some guy while you guys were gone came and picked up Gizmo. Turns out that's his pet. He just lost him in the city and was looking all over for him. Some young guy. I didn't catch his name. But Gizmo seemed to know him, so I let him leave with him. And Ray's just like, aw. And Venkman's like, don't worry, buddy, you still have Slimer. And hey, you can pay for the bill this time. So there you go, guys. That is the Gremlins, Gargoyles, Ghostbusters crossover. I want to thank everyone for voting on this one. This was pretty fun to do. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys thought. Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.